In the headlines to the CBC NewsNight, a multi-million-dollar effort to address water scarcity and quality issues gathers steam. Concerned parents and guardians not following through with child abuse cases.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome to the CBC NewsNight. With the details, I'm Wendy Burke. There will be a major change to the Democratic Labour Party's presence in the Senate going forward. Political leader of the DLP, Ralph Thorne, made the announcement as he delivered remarks at the closing ceremony of the DLP's annual General Conference this evening.
By the powers vested in me, by sections 39 and 36 of the Constitution of Barbados, I announce that Senator Walters will be joined by a new senator when the Honorable Senate resumes its business.
Mr. Thorne also told the scores of DLP faithfuls gathered at the George Street Auditorium the party has started to select candidates to run in the next general elections. Meanwhile, chaos continued on the third day of the annual General Conference. Former President Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, former General Secretary Steve Blackett and several party supporters were barred from entering the party headquarters. Security officers at the gate told them they could not enter since their names were not on the list of members allowed entry. This led to the disgruntled members voicing concerns about being locked out and exchanging strong words with other supporters. Dr. Yearwood says the DLP members being denied entry is a sad day for democracy.
The annual conference is the highest decision-making body of the Democratic Labour Party, and yesterday that membership decided that Mr. Steve Blackett and myself were the duly elected President and General Secretary of this party, and any other decisions taken to demote us were invalid. That was the membership of the Democratic Labour Party speaking.
A multi-million-dollar project aimed at addressing water quality and scarcity issues, particularly for farmers, is well advanced. It involves the construction of a US $34.8 million tertiary treatment plant. Officials from the Barbados Water Authority and the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, or 5Cs, held an information session in Independence Square Saturday to give the public the opportunity to learn more about the plans. National Project Coordinator with the 5Cs, Dr. Elon Cadogan, says the treated wastewater is not for drinking, but to irrigate farmlands and the National Botanical Gardens.
The reclaimed water, which is going to go through a tertiary treatment process, and it has the additional disinfection step, which removes ions in the water. So you're removing your bacteria, you're removing your viruses, you're removing your heavy metals, and then you're removing even the small ions, for example, sodium. Someone this morning mentioned sodium chloride, so you're actually able to remove that sodium chloride or salt from the water itself. So that's the level of treatment that we're going to. Why is it important? No, it has to do with the impacts of climate change, or should I say the negative impacts of climate change. This is all about augmenting Barbados's non-potable water supply. So right now, in terms of the timing, it's just that these impacts we can no longer ignore. These impacts we have to plan now for the future, and these impacts we can't wait until it is in an extremely dire situation. I mean, right now Barbados is already placed within the top 8 in the world regarding water scarcity, and we don't want a water crisis to basically occur here in Barbados. So that's really and truly why the timing is now. I think it's very critical that we try to do this now.
Manager of the Project Management Department at the Barbados Water Authority, Shelley Paris, says the pipeline will benefit many.
We will be placing a pipeline that will run from the Bridgetown Sewage Treatment Plant up through Bridgetown and up to the Bell Plantation, Neils Plantation area. I can't speak to the exact sizing of the pipeline at this stage or the exact flow that we will get, but I know that based on the preliminary design that we would have been presented just now by our consultants, the volume that will be provided is approximately 168 cubic meters per day. The usage of that water now will also depend on the type of crops that you're looking at. So some may need that, heavy injection of the typical sprinklers that we are accustomed seeing, or some may be able to make use of more efficient technologies such as drip irrigation.
The BWA is holding 2 more public consultations this week, Monday at the St. Mary's Church and Wednesday at the Calvary Moravian Church. Both meetings are scheduled from 6 to 8 p.m. The project is expected to be completed in 2027. There's major concern parents and guardians are dropping child abuse cases. The issue has been highlighted by Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey. He says Director of the Childcare Board, Roseanne Richards, informed him just last week she was advised by police of 6 cases of parents or guardians opting not to pursue.
That would be a case where a child has said, or the evidence led the Childcare Board to believe that it was worthy of investigation, that this child could have been abused. But the parents are saying, we don't want to pursue this. And that has to stop. Because as I said, it is a waste of the police's time in the first instance, but also what is going to happen to that child. And we have to determine what kind of society we want to live in. And so to me, that is pure foolishness.
Mr. Humphrey says new child protection legislation passed earlier this year will make it mandatory for parents to report child abuse cases.
And then it would become a case where the parents don't have a choice. But as it stands, and it has been happening for years, where the police would go do the investigation, and then the parent or the guardian determine that they don't want to pursue the case. And this happens for a number of reasons, right? It could be a case where the male, if it's a case where a young lady has been abused, where the male is a breadwinner, or where the male is a provider, or where there is fear. There are a number of reasons why it happens. So we have to create the protections around those children as well, but it can't continue. And so, of course, it brings frustration to the police when they would have done the investigation and a parent determined that, my silence is more important than the protection of my child.
Meanwhile, United Nations child rights expert Faith Marshall-Harris says parents and guardians not pursuing child abuse cases is not a new issue. She says they must understand protecting their children must be their greatest priority. She too believes the new Child Protection Act is the solution to the vexing issue.
If your child has been abused, no amount of money can solve that, because that abuse lives with that child sometimes for the rest of their lives. It is something which you have to understand that it becomes a psychological problem, and you can meet if they will confide in you and meet a number of grown-ups who will tell you, this happened to me as a child, and they're still reliving it.
A Guyanese national residing in St. Philip is tonight recovering with a broken right leg after falling into a 40-foot well. 53-year-old Eric Duhigg of Robinson Land, Long Bay, fell into a well at Robinson Close, also in the area. Police say they received the call at 3:03 yesterday. The victim was rescued by the Barbados Fire Service and taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance. Coming up, efforts to intensify to raise awareness about lupus. The Hope Foundation is intensifying efforts to raise public awareness about lupus. President Shelley Ware says they are starting with a paper which will be turned into a documentary. She also urges all those affected by the disease to join the foundation. Ms. Ware was speaking at the end of this year's annual fundraising walk.
We have some initiatives coming up. One that has been funded by the Commonwealth Foundation, the Lupus Diary, which seeks to tell the story of lupus in Barbados. So it will be telling from the clinical side, and then we also want the personal experience with lupus. So it will be done in a paper as well as a video. So those who would like to relate their journey with lupus, we would be very interested in hearing from them.
Meanwhile, Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey is urging corporate Barbados and other entities to support those with debilitating illnesses. He attended the walk in support of a friend and a staff member's daughter affected by lupus.
I want to come out today and lend my support to Tommy and to Niska and to all the persons who are dealing with lupus. So I also want to support the Hope Foundation and the tremendous work that they've been doing. And again, repeat my call for corporate Barbados to do more to support these NGOs who are doing this kind of amazing work to promote people who are in need of support.
With the number of stray dogs on the island on the increase, Barbadians are being encouraged to neuter their dogs. The advice from the Animal Control Center in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Animal Control Officer in the unit, Alison Cadell, says members of the public have been reaching out daily concerning the issue of stray dogs. Speaking during the Pause for a Health event at the Coverley Playing Field, Ms. Cadell says while the dogs are not easy to catch, there are some steps that can be taken to limit the problem.
Neutering and spaying of dogs we really want to encourage, because dogs can have 9, 8, 10 in a litter. We don't know, we cannot control that. And dogs coming into heat, females, they definitely can get pups. The male also can be neutered to prevent these unwanted puppies in case the male dog goes in heat and gets away and go with a female dog. And for those who have their dogs just tied out under a tree somewhere in their backyard with no paling, or even if they have paling, the dogs we find can knock those down and get into them and impregnate them. And by the time you know it, some mornings you see a little puppies, because some dogs don't show readily, and so preventing unwanted dogs is very, very important for us because it puts real pressure on us.
Ms. Cadell says previously the traps were placed in various locations to catch stray dogs. However, they've had to amend the strategy. She appealed to the public not to remove the traps.
Stray dogs is not necessarily easy to catch unless persons encourage them by way of a little food and water, and if they then build the courage with the dog, we can then come and capture that dog, or we would have to try to set a trap. And traps are something that is scarcity because the public has seen to be taken away the traps when we put them out in the public domain. So the traps that we have remaining, we ask persons to have an eye on them, so we tend to only set them on their premises and not in the public domain anymore.
Coming up, the weekend sports.
Sports time. Good evening. I'm Damien Best. Well, Barbados are the champions of the CFU Boys Under 14 Football Challenge Series. Playing at Scarborough in Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados beat Bermuda 4-3 on penalties in the Tier 2 final today after the game finished 0-0 at the end of regulation. A tremendous performance. Congrats to the team once again. In cricket news, West Indies have secured a series win against South Africa, set into bat in the second T20 at the Brandauer Cricket Academy today. The Windies posted 179 for 6, led by Shea Hope, who scored 41. Lizard Williams took 3 for 36. Well, in reply, the Proteas were bowled out for 149 in 19.4 overs. Rovman, that's Romario Shepherd, took 3 for 15, and Shamara Joseph 3 for 31, as the hosts won by 30 runs to take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. Reza Hendricks made 44 in that losing effort. The third and final match is set for Tuesday. Well, the Barbados Gems went down to Northern Ireland last night in the first test of the Barbados Netball Association Paradise Cup. Playing at the Willie Gym, the Gems led at halftime 26-22, but struggled in the third and fourth quarters, losing by a 10-goal margin, 53-43. For the Irish, Olea Rogers scored 21 from 30 attempts, while Emma McGee had 16 goals from 20. For the Gems, goal attack Latonia Blackman had a perfect night with 23 from 23 attempts, while goal shooter Jada Smith had 20 from 30. Here's some highlights.
They scored 9:22 on the clock. Northern Ireland gaining possession. Scores. Experience there from Blackman. Scores. Oh, she's all alone. Attempts the shot, misses. A good jump there by Barbados, goal defense, but it scores anyway. Nice inside. Pass inside to the goal shooter. Smith can lock it up. At 14 now, 11 minutes and 43 seconds on the clock.
We're in the Barbados. Ooh. It scores. Kitani. Attempts shot. Scores.
Into the pocket there for Northern Ireland. Drawing both of them. Bruce Roger will score. He disturbed the net. Pockets at the Spurs. And goal in.
That's it. Right? The final score that we have is 52-42.
Well, the second test will be played tomorrow at the Willie Gymnasium and will begin at 8 p.m. Indeed. Well, that is it for sports tonight. The weather details up next.
The forecast for tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 5:47 and will set at 13 minutes past 6. Now, the first high tide is expected at 9:23 in the morning, the first low at 6 minutes after 3 in the early morning. Those seas are calm to moderate in open water, with swells peaking at 1.5 meters. The winds, they're coming in from the southeast to the east, peaking at 30 kilometers per hour. For us here in Barbados tonight, the trough system will continue to impact us. We are expecting cloudy skies along with showers, rain, and a very slight chance of some isolated thunderstorms. Over the next 3 days, instability will maintain occasionally cloudy skies, along with some showers tomorrow. On Tuesday, the tropical wave will generate a few showers here in Barbados. Thereafter, instability will maintain a few more showers.
Before we go, remember, don't miss tonight's episode of The People's Business coming up at 8. That's our news. Thank you for joining us. Do continue to enjoy your evening.